In the bustling streets of New York City during the Prohibition era, two powerful factions within the Italian-American Mafia vied for control over the city's lucrative underworld. The Castellammarese War was a brutal power struggle that would shape the face of organized crime in America for decades to come. On one side of this bloody conflict stood Joe the Boss Masseria, a feared and ruthless mob leader who commanded the loyalty of the city's most powerful gangsters. Opposing him was Salvatore Maranzano, a Sicilian mafioso who had recently arrived in the United States, seeking to establish a foothold in New York's criminal underworld. Tensions between the two factions had been simmering for years, but the situation reached a boiling point in 1930 when Masseria ordered the assassination of a key Maranzano ally, Gaetano Tommy Rena. Rena's murder ignited a brutal war that would claim dozens of lives and forever change the landscape of American mafia. As the war intensified, both Masseria and Maranzano began to rally their forces and forge alliances with other powerful criminal organizations. Masseria's faction included such notorious figures as Lucky Luciano, Frank Costello, and Vito Genovese, while Maranzano's ranks were bolstered by the likes of Joe Profaci and Joseph Bonanno. The streets of New York became a battleground as two factions engaged in a series of violent skirmishes and assassination attempts. Mobsters loyal to Masseria and Maranzano fought bitterly over control of lucrative rackets like gambling, extortion, and bootlegging, leaving a trail of blood and destruction in their wake. As the war dragged on, some members of the criminal underground began to question the wisdom of the seemingly endless bloodshed. Among them was Lucky Luciano, a young and ambitious mobster who saw an opportunity to seize power for himself. Luciano, along with other key members of Masseria's organization, began to secretly plot against their own boss. They believed that by eliminating both Masseria and Maranzano, they could establish a new era of peace and prosperity for the New York Mafia. In April of 1931, Luciano arranged a meeting with Masseria at a Coney Island restaurant. As they dined, 4 gunmen burst into the restaurant, gunning down Masseria in a hail of bullets. With Masseria's death, the balance of power began to shift in favor of Maranzano and his allies. Seizing the momentum of Masseria's assassination, Maranzano quickly moved to consolidate his power. He declared himself capo di tutti capi, or boss of all bosses, and began to reorganize the New York Mafia along the lines of a traditional Sicilian crime family. However, Maranzano's reign would prove to be short-lived. Luciano and his co-conspirators, who were now operating independently from any of the warring factions, saw Maranzano's ascent as a threat to their own ambitions. They decided to strike before Maranzano could move against them. On September 10th of 1931, a group of assassins disguised as government agents entered Maranzano's office, killing him and several of his associates. With the death of Maranzano, the war had finally come to an end. In the aftermath of the brutal conflict, Lucky Luciano and his associates seized the opportunity to reshape the landscape of the American Mafia. They sought to create a more efficient and cooperative system, which would minimize internal conflicts and ensure the smooth functioning of their criminal enterprises. To achieve this, Luciano and his allies established the Commission, a governing body comprised of the heads of the most powerful mafia families in the United States. The Commission would act as an impartial mediator, settling disputes and maintaining order among the various families. This new structure marked a significant departure from the old world hierarchy that had defined the mafia in the past. It was a move towards a more democratic and collaborative model of organized crime, where power was distributed more evenly among the different factions. Under the leadership of the Commission, the American Mafia flourished, expanding its operations and influence throughout the country. The establishment of the Commission also marked the end of an era of the Castellammarese War, as the bloody power struggles of the past gave way to the new age of cooperation and unity. The Castellammarese War left an indelible mark on the history of organized crime in the United States. It was a brutal and violent struggle that claimed the lives of many prominent mobsters and forever altered the course of the American Mafia. Through the establishment of the Commission brought a measure of stability to the underworld. The legacy of the Castellammarese War will continue to reverberate throughout the decade that followed. The shifting alliances, power plays, and betrayals that defined the conflict would become a reoccurring theme in the halls of Mafia history. The story of this war is a tale of ambition, rivalry, and ruthless violence. It serves as a stark reminder of the lengths to which people will go to their quest for power and the human cost that is often exacted in the process.